Some arguments never truly end. The topic changes, the tension does not. One week it is household work, next week a social plan, then something smaller still. Different trigger, same emotional outcome. The conflict keeps returning because the couple is solving the symptom, not the structure underneath it. Most people focus on the immediate argument. They mistake the trigger for the cause. So they solve surface details while the deeper pattern stays untouched. That is why the conflict reappears in new forms. The system itself is generating tension, not because the people are irrational, because the loop was never identified. The feeling becomes chronic instability. This is where most people freeze. But at Solver's Studio, we go to our toolkit, the Solver's 6. The tool here is pattern mapping. Pattern mapping shifts attention from the argument itself to the sequence producing it. The goal is not to decode every emotional reaction, it is to reveal the fixed loop underneath recurring conflict. Once the structure becomes visible, the repetition stops feeling random. First, map the full conflict sequence. Ignore the subject of the argument. Focus on the behavioral chain. For example, small neglect, escalation, withdrawal, explosion, temporary repair, then repetition. The content changes, the sequence does not. Next, identify the leverage point. Where does the cycle truly begin? Usually, it is the earliest overlooked signal, not the explosion, the neglect before it. That first step anchors the entire pattern. Find the smallest moment capable of redirecting the outcome. Finally, insert a commitment device at the leverage point, a structural action, not an emotional promise. If neglect starts the cycle, create a mandatory repair mechanism early, a check-in, a rule, a scheduled conversation. The goal is to interrupt the sequence before escalation becomes inevitable. Pattern mapping resolves conflict structurally. First, map the sequence. Second, locate the leverage point. Third, insert a commitment device. The conflict loses power once the loop becomes visible. The same pattern appears across friendships and workplaces. A person changes environments repeatedly but keeps encountering similar conflict. Different people, same tension. The external setting changes, the internal loop does not. Pattern mapping exposes the anchor. Maybe unclear boundaries, avoided conversations, unspoken expectations. The intervention becomes structural. Clear rules early, defined limits, direct communication before pressure builds. The pattern breaks at the source. Recurring conflict is rarely random. It is usually structural repetition hidden beneath changing details. That is why emotional effort alone fails. Stability comes from seeing the sequence clearly enough to interrupt it early. Once the pattern is visible, the cycle stops feeling inevitable.